came back, helped him for 4 years. Then COVID hit, as we're all very well aware. Plenty of stories on here probably of how that affected you all for the positive and the negative. But for me, it was a stepping stone. And I stepped out in unemployment, went and pressure washed for about a year, cut grass, just figured it out, and really saw an opportunity for me to learn how money worked. There's this massive gap of watching something being built, like a lot of you, from what I gather, business owners, you've got entrepreneurs, got a lot going on. And so for me, I got to kind of step out into this world and start building for myself and understand like how money worked. And so I came across the EQRP, not really knowing what it was, truthfully, because I just was looking for a place to, start paying some bills again, but also start building. And funny enough that this company ended up changing my life for the better. And it gave me the opportunity to be submersed in just the world of finance, but in a way that positioned me in Main Street assets. And, a lot of you find a lot of freedom in that, right? You can't dump $10 million in Tesla and call them and have them talk to you because they don't really care who you are. But, if I gave $10 million to Jeff and his company, I guarantee you he'll pick up my call or take me to go visit whatever asset that I wanted to go to. So it's been a big learning journey for me. And then, got the opportunity to lead the company last year. And so I've got the privilege and honor of getting to help families, empower them to invest in the assets that make the most sense for them. And we get to do that via the self-directed retirement industry. And so I'm going to share my screen and do a short presentation for you guys. Let me know when you can see. Can I get a thumbs up if y'all see? Perfect. All right. Still good?
Still good.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, the reason you guys are here tonight is to learn about self-directed retirement. And I think just to give a short backstory of this is that it didn't get popular until 2020, right? And I think the reason why that happened is it caused a lot of questioning in what people's money was actually doing for them. A lot of power was just given over to those that said, hey, we'll take care of you. But now when a massive event happened that caused the world to really start shaking, people started going inward and saying, what's really best for me? What do I really care about? What do I want my money to start working towards? And so, tonight, if I could just give you guys one thing to walk away with, it's to feel confident that you can do it, that it's not as scary as you think it is, and it actually can give you the superpower that you need to get to where you want to go just by taking control over this money that you thought you didn't have control over. So in that, what is the EQRP? Well, it stands for Enhanced Qualified Retirement Plan. That's just our marketing collateral that we've kind of monikered, but that's what it stands for. And four pillars that we're built on is first, control over your investment. So we've built our company on a 401k platform. And the reason that we did so is because of the frictionless aspect of the 401k and how it's structured. IRAs, there's more friction. 401ks, just as Jeff was kind of sharing, you can really like grease the rails to get to where you want to go faster. And for us to empower families, for them to get to where they want to go faster, we got to give them the appropriate tool to do that. And so that is the first pillar, is control. And that's why we build it on a 401k. Second is support. So we have account managers that work with you directly to serve and support you with any and all questions that you have when it comes to how does the thing work? What do I do next? Like, our whole goal is to take the brain damage away from you in this process. We've done all the hard labor and lifting. And, as Jeff was out searching for all the answers, we have all the answers, and you don't even have to worry about it or go try and do that all by yourself, because we've already kind of systemized the process in that, and having that one-on-one support is really important. And then education is really the backbone of what we're built on. Like, we want to empower you. So when you start thinking about going to fish, I'm sure you've all heard of this, we'll call it phrase before, teach a man to fish, he eats for a lifetime, feed a man to fish, he eats for a day. And so we are very much in the realm of teaching people how to do the thing, because in that, you become more confident in going out and doing it over and over again, which then opens you up to more opportunities, right? So And then lastly, community. So good investors, what we've found, like in the industry, in the self-directed retirement industry, what we found where they fail investors most is they give them the control, they give them some support, but then they really kind of leave them at that. And what we have found is that we need to give a place for our investors to learn. Good investors continually educate themselves and learn. Second, they have a network of people they can go to ask about what deals and opportunities are out there. And then third, they know where to invest, right? And so we have been able to capture all of that in our community and help get you from A to Z as quick as possible to where you're not sitting around wondering, what do I do next? Or, how can I see the next thing for my goals? Like we've already done that for you. So it's really an immersive experience that you won't find anywhere else. And so we have, I'm from Chick-fil-A, so I like to say it's my pleasure that we get to do this. But what it kind of looks like for people to come into our community is very fast. We understand that time is money, right? And so if we can compress time for our people, then that's what we do. So, when people get started with us, we can establish your plan same day. You can roll over a lot of eligible funds from other plans. So if a lot of you are 1099 earners, you have old IRAs hanging out there, old 401ks from previous jobs, we can umbrella all of that under one. And then you can take that money and then go put it to work in these deals and offerings that are provided here on this webinar today. And it's all non-taxable events. So a lot of times people think, well, if I move this money, what's the implications for me? There's not. You're just changing the vehicle to which that money is. You're not taking a personal distribution. So it's a non-taxable event. And then we can have you set up to wire funds to the investment sponsor or fund manager same day once the money lands. So, and your account managers will work with you. So essentially when the money hits, you're like, hey, I want to get that money out. Perfect. We'll get it sent. And, everybody's happy, right? Your money gets working. And then the fund managers have the money to start working for you. So it's a win-win situation. And then we'll help you record that transaction as well on the back end. So a very hands-on process with us to you guys. And, really I'd say the big question is people say, well, how does this help me? Right.
Hey,
Because
Parker, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Is there a way you can move to presentation view? We're seeing both slides. Your current one, your next one is just harder to read them.
oh, I am so sorry about that.
Right. No worries. I see some of them have more information. It might be easier to see it with the full slide.
Let's see here. 1 second. You were very, very kind.
Just go to slideshow. Oh, you're not on PowerPoint.
No, I'm not. Just let's see here.
Well, the way you had it before is fine.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, this works if that's where we're at.
Okay. Am I good to keep going?
Yeah, just go ahead and keep going.
Okay. Sorry, guys. Let's back up. Yeah, so really kind of where I was just at is that, how does this help you? The reality is that a self-directed retirement plan allows you to take full control and leverage the potential of having all this money in one place and putting it to work in different asset classes, which we've come to find, right, that private placement always outperforms these other markets that are out there, especially in a downturn. And the reason is because you have options, right? You have options to go put your money to work and you can pivot when typically when your money's tied up in Wall Street, you can't pivot. You're just kind of stuck with what you got and hope it turns out for the best versus like, oh, I'm going to now put my money in this specific asset class or this different type of structure to give me this type of return. And all these things you just don't know until you do know, but you got to have control first, which is why the self-directed vehicle gives you so much control over that. And so as Jeff was talking about, this is very key for any of you that have IRAs or self-directed IRAs that you're using. There's a nasty tax that is involved with any deal that's got debt taken on. Not if you're doing like private lending specifically, right? But if you're investing in a real estate deal that's leveraged, then you're going to be hit with a tax up to 38%, as Jeff was talking about, on the amount of debt leverage. So, you're looking at anywhere from $20,000 to $30,000, depending on the amount that you're investing, which typically you're going to find $50,000 to $100,000 that are in on a lot of deals that are out there. And so think about that in perpetuity. And then think about just having that piece of information, that knowledge, right? Like now that saves you down the road, all that money that you'd be giving to Uncle Sam, you can now put into the next deal, right? That goes back to you to then reinvest in perpetuity, which is key. And a lot of people just don't know. And these IRA companies aren't going to tell you, because it's really a big downside to people that want to invest in real estate, but they just would, obviously they have no incentive to disclose that to you. But not all vehicles are created the same, which is why we have positioned ourselves in the 401k space, because that is not written in the actual IRS tax code. So if you're invested in a deal that's currently leveraged, then you can move that out of the IRA into a 401k. It's, tax and penalty free. And now you've removed yourself from paying that tax in perpetuity just by making the move. And our team does this for tons of people all the time. So no need in worrying how. We take care of that for you. And then you get into some pretty creative aspects too that, IRAs don't let you borrow, but in 401ks, you can take out, up to $50,000 or half your plan value. So let's just say you want to, take advantage of a tax advantaged opportunity that can, support your W-2 income or mitigate that income tax that you get. Well, you could actually play bank with yourself, take that money out and put it to work, in another opportunity outside of your retirement plan, but then you would pay your retirement plan back at a prime plus minus one. So I call it like a legal double dipping almost, which is really cool that you can, pay that money back to yourself, make the return on that 50 grand, but then that 50 grand would then be working for you in another opportunity. So there's really flexible ways to get the thing done that you're looking to do. But like I said, that's why our team's here to help coach you through that and give you all your options. And then as business owners, you guys that are 1099 earners, own your own business, you have employees, the contribution limits, as you know, are extremely high. And so when you think about being able to take control over this money that you've been putting into a retirement plan for years, and now you have the ability to self-direct. Now, most people don't know that you can, as a business owner with employees, actually take advantage of a plan like this and put this money to work in these real estate options that you have. And so think if you can defer, profit share yourself, these limits that are in there for you, can then in perpetuity start doing that year over year to help grow you towards your financial goals at a much quicker rate. So just remember, like as a business owner, you have some really good advantages to take in a 401k plan like this and self-direct that into these great options. And so, here's just a couple of testimonials from our members that we work with, and they're really, this is why we do what we do. We're a very one-to-one based company. So we're going out, beating the concrete, going and meeting people, talking with them, getting in the weeds with them. We're very, we want to support you and your goals and your plans, and not everybody's, we don't treat people like robots. Everybody's situation is different and unique. And so, really kind of the next best thing that you could do in your specific situation is, we've got a QR code up here. So if you're just like, hey, I want to talk to you through this, I want to talk through my situation specifically and see what I have access to be able to take my retirement funds and go invest them in these type opportunities, just reach out to us. Jeff's got our information as well, so he can give you any additional information that you may need. But, lastly, I'll just close with this. This seems risky for people that have never done it. And I want to just encourage you that, like anything that we ever do in life, like risk is always going to be there, but all risk is the lack of experience in doing the thing. So just think of skydivers. Like when I skydived for the first time, it was pretty dang risky. Like I remember sitting out on the edge of that being like, what am I doing? I'm probably going to die here. But the guy attached to my back, who's done it 1,000 times, he's just like, man, I can't wait to get to the bottom, and I'm just going to go hang out. I might go drink a beer or something and go do it another 10 times today. For him, he has the experience doing it, and so he's confident to keep stepping out and doing it again. but you got to start somewhere. And so just remember that, doing nothing gets you nowhere, right? You got to take action. And if you guys are thinking about this, then, I want you to seriously consider this option for your financial strategy as you look to your financial goals and what you have down the road, and be able to take advantage of something like this, because we see our members time and time again, when they come in and they're able to educate themselves, get the tool, the access, they're getting to work with our team and strategize with like how to do the thing, right? They are so much more fulfilled and confident that that they can do it. And traditional finance is just going to tell you that you can't. So I don't want you guys to ever think that, because look, 3.5 years ago, I was pressure washing, right? Like, I didn't know a lick of anything other than just waking up each day trying to get out and hustle. But when I started asking questions and challenging my paradigms and putting myself around people that knew and understood how these things worked, I've compressed so much time in my life that where I thought that I was going to be, 20, 30 years from now, I've actually gotten to a place in much quicker time than I ever thought. So appreciate you guys, your time. And, I'll open up for a few questions, and then Jeff, feel free to just cut me off whenever.
Okay, Parker, it looks like we actually have a couple of questions already in the chat section. Kim had asked a question about, can you move money from an IRA to a 401k to get the tax benefits?
Well, you can move in anything from an IRA to a 401k as many times as you want, and it's a non-taxable event. So you can move it over and still take advantage of all the that the 401 section allows you to invest.
And then to follow that up, a question about the Roth issue of that. If it is a Roth account that's an IRA, is that kind of trapped into that IRA, or can that?
Correct. Yeah, Roth IRAs are stuck. Unfortunately, that's just how the code's written. But Roth 401ks can move to wherever you want them to, and you can always convert to Roth inside of this plan as well. So that is an option for our people too.
Okay. And then what are the fees associated with the plan?
Yeah, so we have an upfront fee and then a annualized on the back end. So we don't work like an asset under management. We aren't custodians. And for you guys tonight, typically we charge $5,000 to get it set up and run. But tonight, when we work with specific people like you guys, we'll give you the opportunity to come in at $39.95 up front, and you can use that to pay out of your retirement. And then on the back end, it's $8.95 per year, and that covers literally everything that we do. So unlimited rollovers, conversions, you name it, access to our team. It's all inclusive for the work that we do for you guys. And so those are the fees, and you can use your retirement, like I said, to pay for those fees each and every year as well. So
here's one of the questions I get from investors pretty much every time we have a new asset raising. Do you have to be a small business owner in order to do this solo 401k process? I do not own a small business, but I do have an LLC for one rental house. What's the kind of the breakdown or the narrative on guidelines there?
Yeah, so I'm going to exit the slideshow real quick, if that's okay.
I already exited for you.
Okay, cool. So yeah, the 401k, all it states is that you've got to be conducting business activity that would subject you to self-employment income, but income does not have to be present to qualify for a plan like this. So, if you've got 1099 income on the side that you're doing, or a business that you're growing and it's not earning money, you have a painting business, like there's all sorts of things that you can be doing that could subject you to earning income, and that would qualify you for the business. So, like most of your companies that you worked for is sponsored by 401k. The company sponsors it, and then you as the employee get paid, which is why you get to put money in. So think of it that way. For you as a self-employed individual, and if you have, employees, you can contribute, but you don't have to. Income does not have to be present, just the business activity.
I'd like to speak to that. My wife was a school teacher, and we started our solo 401k with her our LLC was literally her tutoring. And so that allowed us to set up the LLC, create the plans underneath it. transfer the funds. Obviously, there wasn't any income, so we weren't able to do the contribution side of it, but it definitely helped leverage those assets out of my 403B that I had previously and the IRA that was pre-tax. I was able to consolidate all those and get those into an investment. It looks like we have a question about I am age 75 and I don't think I'm eligible for solo 401k because he's already retired without business income. How's that work when someone's...
Yeah, I mean, we have retirees that come in. There's also, like I said, there's a lot of ways that you can qualify. It just depends on the work that you are currently doing or may be doing. And if you just are like, you know what, I really don't want to fool with it. Well, that's kind of just your decision that you want, right? So just know that the business activity is all that matters. The income does not have to be there. So hopefully that answers your question.
Well, Parker, I appreciate all the information. I think all of our... Oh, Darwin has a question. He's got his hand raised.
Hey, yeah, I'm here. Okay, so we were talking about, I don't have a 401k, IRA. I just have all my investments in real estate, but I do have a business. And I think you said I can contribute, I can open it up and I can contribute $70,000 per year. Was that the
Correct.
number?
Correct. So, yeah, go ahead.
And that comes out, pre-tax, right? Comes
Correct.
out of, it's an expense for me to lower my overall net income. Then that goes into that EQRP program, and I can invest through that.
Correct.
And in doing that, it's checkbook. It only takes a few days to get set up.
Yeah, typically it takes about 10 business days total to get everything from start to finish done. And a lot of times the time that is most spent is just getting the money from the custodian that we're trying to pull the funds from. On our side, we can get literally everything up in a couple of days for you.
And you do all of that then. You handle the whole transaction, everything else.
Correct.
So everything that Jeff went through, all the work and legwork and figuring it out and everything like that. And while he didn't have an upfront cost on doing that, he had a lot of opportunity cost with the amount of time and energy put in researching this. So even though you have an upfront fee, that's handling and taking all the work out from underneath you, right?
As Parker would say, I packed my own parachute on that one.
It's just brain damage, right? Like time is the most valuable asset that we have in resource. And the reality is that timing's everything. When you have an opportunity in front of you, the last thing you want to be doing is trying to figure out something that you really have no business trying to figure out. Like, let somebody else do it for you and get your money in a place where you can send that money out as fast as possible. And that's our goal. That's what we strive to do.
Hey, Parker, let me jump in if you don't mind. We pride ourselves on transparency, and one of the things that I have not heard is one of the downsides, and correct me if I'm wrong, to this program, because I set up a checkbook IRA many years ago, and it cost me thousands of dollars to do it because I didn't want to do all the legwork, is that you can run afoul of the IRS because you do have that independence or that flexibility to write checks. And so if you don't adhere to the guidelines concerning IRA funds, because they still are qualified, it's still a qualified plan, correct?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. You're right. It's like the greatest aspect of this plan can also be the greatest downfall, right? Is the fact that you have total control can be a good or bad thing depending on the information filters that you have, which is why our team is here. So if you ever looking at an investment and you want to say, hey, Parker, what does your team think about this? Well, then we aren't going to tell you what to do. We're going to teach you how. And sometimes it's like, hey, typically I say if it's gray, stay away, right? The IRS is always like you're guilty until proven innocent. So there's a lot of ways that if you're just trying to be above reproach, you'll be fine. But if you go out there with your own understanding without actually checking your knowledge with somebody that knows, then that's where you could run afoul. But yeah, that's
we're all adults here, right? So at the end
Parker,
of the day, yeah, go ahead.
One last question came in just about the yearly. So as a non-taxable entity, they don't have to file a return, right? At least that's what my CPA tells me about my self-directed IRA. That is Incorrect. There is a yearly. Is there a yearly form or a yearly filing that is required on these plans?
Yeah, there's 5,500 that you have to fill out once your value reaches a certain level, but you're going to record everything that you have in there, and any assets that you have will need fair market values, right? So if you have your K1s that you come back, you want to record those. And typically most people are doing, we'll say 3 to 5 investments a year out of their retirement. So it's fairly simple to keep up with all of that. But the 5,500, we take care of that for you as well. Any 1099-Rs, we take care of that for you. And our team will walk you through that. So like I said, the brain damage that comes with it, we will help walk you through all that and get you out from under that.
Another big one that comes along with that is I did what was called an in-plan conversion that was asked in the chat, where you can take a pre-tax asset that you've already moved from your self-directed IRA into this pre-tax solo 401k, and then inside that plan you can do a conversion.
Yep.
Parker, do you also help set up the post-tax plan and do the conversion?
Yeah, all of that's included, so it's no additional cost. The people, I mean, my thing is, if you want to get to Roth as quick as you can, right? Taxes are only going up, they aren't going down. So if you can get to a point where you're never paying them again, awesome, and we'll help take care of that for you.
Any more questions, Darwin?
Not off the top of my head, I was just shocked. I mean, the 38% on UBIT, the amount of time everybody has involved in trying to set everything up. And then also from our IR team's point of view, how long it takes to get those investment funds from a lot of these
Custodians, yes.
Yeah, a lot of these custodians is an absolute pain, and they miss out on some investments because it takes so long to set up, get it transferred, and then get funded that they end up missing out on this. But this has a lot faster process overall because you've basically got a company behind you that's setting up, doing all the legwork for you, but it's still your basically checkbook IRA, right? It's still you're in control of it. You put it wherever you want.
Correct. Yeah, you're the trustee over this account, so you have full right to act as quick as you want with any opportunity. So, if you're like, hey, Parker, I have one more spot left in this deal, I could literally just wire you the money right now from my phone and not have to ask permission from anybody. So, like, time is everything, right? And I could miss out on the opportunity if I was like, well, let me go start the process of submitting and asking for approval, and you're like, hey, I ain't got time for that. Like, deal closes. So.
So in order to take this as something that's actionable for our investors today, do I have them reach out to me at jeff@darwingerman.com, and then I can connect them with either you, Parker, Joel, or Sam, one of your team members? Would that be the best way? I would love to be able to jump on the call if they're comfortable with it, to kind of keep growing my knowledge as well, so that I can help navigate people to you and make sure that we have all the similar answers.
Yeah, absolutely. I would encourage that. You guys reach out to Jeff, and then he'll connect you with our team. We'd love to serve you all, and appreciate just giving us the opportunity to share a little bit of knowledge. There's a lot out there, so I don't want you guys to feel overwhelmed. A lot of people, including myself, you just got to take the first step, and really it just is reaching out and getting more information about your situation and what you qualify for. And then, we will handhold the whole way and make sure you feel confident in doing this. And so, this is what we do, and we love it, and we love people. We want to just help families get to where they want to go.
All right. Well, all that said, I mean, I think we have a pretty good segue here to our next stuff, so we can let Parker go, and I would love to connect any and all of you guys with him and get that ball rolling for you if you have any questions. Thank you, Parker.
Thank you, guys.
Hey, Jeff, are you a Boy Scout today?
I absolutely am. I came straight from my son's scout meeting, and yeah, I've been doing lots of scouting here in Tennessee since I was able to leave my career tied to the phone and being on call. It's opened me up to being able to go out on weekends and spend time with my kids. And Tuesday nights, I'm constantly surrounded by probably 75 middle school kids, trying to keep them in line and keeping them on track to learn something outdoorsy and how to be a better part of our society. So it's been really beneficial. It looks like there was one last question about how to connect with me. Is just jeff@darwingerman.com. or you can just put in invest at darwingerman.com or Julian or Darwin. So that's it right there. Perfect. So Darwin, do you want to kind of segue into the next one, or you want me to just jump in?
Well, let me go ahead and segue this a little bit is, of course, we're always on the hunt for properties that would be good investments. And we're always looking for about 3 or 4 years. We've been looking at Tennessee as an opportunity. And Jeff being there in Tennessee has opened up an opportunity so that we have boots on the ground. Jeff with a lot of experience in all of our real estate investing, but which he also did on his own, also to help on that net worth, not just all passive. And we have been looking for a few years now. I've done a lot of research and going through Tennessee and building relationships with the agents and owners and management companies, and that has taken a long time to get all set up. Well, now we're finally in a position that we are seeing deals, and some of these are off-market deals. And Tennessee has a whole lot of benefits to investing there, and I'm sure Jeff will go through those. But Nashville is kind of like the Las Vegas of the East Coast. Not really Vegas, but it's the party place. It's where everybody goes. Of course, music, everybody knows music. And it's a little more like Austin, and it's overbuilt and expensive. And then you start looking at other towns around there. And I like Knoxville and I liked Chattanooga. And for example, Chattanooga is 2 hours from Atlanta, 2 hours from, I think it's Augusta, Georgia, 2 hours from Memphis, 2 hours from Nashville, 2 hours from Knoxville. So Chattanooga is a good hub in my mind, but Knoxville, who has a larger population and has the volunteers there for anybody that pays attention to college sports, and they've been pretty much killing it. And so that's caused a whole lot of growth. And because of that, there's a housing shortage as well. So I'm probably stepping on Jeff's toe. So Jeff, go ahead and jump in there.
No worries, Darwin. You definitely teed it up well there. I had kind of listed the 4 kind of major cities that everyone knows about in Tennessee. Not huge by any means, but definitely you can see the population shifts between Nashville and Memphis, and then Chattanooga and Knoxville finishing those up. Memphis, as most people know, is the hub for FedEx. It's a huge organization there. Anchors pretty much a lot of the state, just having those employees there. But it is a lot of transient people. A lot of people moving in and out of Memphis. We see a lot of turnover and stuff there. Nashville, I would compare almost to like the way we're seeing Austin. No shade on you, John, down there in Austin, but Nashville is seeing some overgrowth and a little bit of retraction now. So there was a kind of this supply overhang where people were going crazy, and it was a party city. Everybody wanted to jump onto that party, and a lot of syndications kind of jumped up there and started buying and developing land, which is great long term for those people. But at this point, it's not where we're going to find the deals that will bring value to DGRE and our members. Now, like Darwin said, between Chattanooga and Knoxville, I hope I spelled Chattanooga right there. There is opportunity. What we're seeing is they're slower growth markets. They're not, real big into these huge swings. A lot of the properties that are in those areas are properties that have been owned by people since they were built. So I was looking at a property just a couple weeks ago that had 0 debt on it and had never had a debt registered on it. It was built back in the late 70s, early 80s, and the families owned it the whole time. So you're not seeing the turnover. You're not seeing the lipstick on the pig where it's a syndicator's gone in and just trying to flip it. You're seeing well cared for tenants. You're seeing well cared for properties, and you're seeing a place that is growing at a normal rate over time with consistency. And we really love that about Knoxville. This is just a beautiful picture of our city. Market Square is where I visited the first time when I came to Knoxville. Had my kids down there throwing the football right in downtown Market Square. Actually kind of reminded me a little bit of Pioneer Square there in Fort Worth when I was growing up there. Just feeling like there was a nucleus to the city. There was like this vibrancy of being downtown and being around all that. That said, here's some of the companies that are attracted to this part of Tennessee. So you can see that none of them are huge. I mean, we start with 11,000 in the healthcare field right there. So knowing that it's not just one big employer that's boom or bust, we've got consistent, slow growing that service our community through healthcare. We've got schools, we have the university. We also have, I don't know if everyone knows this, but Oak Ridge is right around the corner. So Oak Ridge is a secret city. Lots of, we've got the National Laboratory there that does a lot of research and development with nuclear energy and stuff like that. The National Security Complex is really big there. I was talking to a gentleman the other day that had to go through special access privileges to even go to work. So it's really neat to see how things are growing in this area. I didn't want to go this far down this list, but I saw Dollywood on the list, so I figured I needed to drop that one in there as well. If you're not familiar with Dollywood, try to figure out a way to come visit it. Maybe jump in on the next asset that we have out here and have a reason to come see us. So this is our downtown overhead view, aerial view on a typical Saturday. Out of the, maybe 800,000 people that are in the Metroplex, 200,000 that live in Knoxville proper, 100,000 of them are right here on every Saturday. So to imagine we got 102,000 people wearing the right shirts, sitting in the right places, blows my mind. I can't even get my kids to get dressed for school in the morning. Here's a little bit of the demographics around the property that we're looking at right now. Again, just it's the slow growth. I mean, we're not seeing huge jumps. We're not seeing huge bubbles. We're seeing just consistently building in our area. This kind of plays to that. So when we're looking at properties, most of you know that we look at what the occupancy is in the property, what the occupancy is in the area, based on the quality of the property, the age of the property, and the desirability of the property. So the properties that we've typically kind of focused in on are these like 3-star properties. And you can see on the orange line, between the 3 and the 3+ is kind of where we're looking at this one that I'm going to show you in just a minute. But our forecasted vacancy is staying very consistent there. You see a big blip in the blue. That was a lot of new construction that's come on. So like the brand new communities are coming in. They have exploded over the past few years, but they are being absorbed very quickly. So why is Knoxville on track to do this? Well, more and more people are moving here. As I mentioned earlier, I moved from Florida. I retired out of Florida to get up here. My home price in Florida was nearly $400 a square foot when I sold it. And that was for an average house, $400 a square foot. So to come up here, have the quality of life, in this beautiful area has just been phenomenal for me. And I see more and more people coming here. There's no tax, no sales tax, no income tax, no state income tax. Actually, there is a sales tax, obviously, but there is no state income tax. So along with that growth, we're having supply issues. So you can see on the next slide here on the right, the blue indicates our home prices. So my home actually grew about 25% last year in value. That's just because they can't keep up with the demand coming on here. So that's pushing more and more people into these limited apartment complexes. I think I read today that there's only 46,000 apartments in all of Knoxville. So we want to be a part of that now, and as they keep building, we'll see what else comes available to us. Another thing we look for as owners and managers of these properties is how do we address tenant issues? State of Tennessee has been very owner friendly. They give a clear outline of how the tenants can meet their obligations and stay in their properties, but they also give the owners the ability to move when that is necessary. So someone had asked in the chat, I just saw just a minute ago, is there any tax advantage of being here? Personally, there's a little bit of tax advantage for me. As far as the properties themselves, one of the things we like, again, is the consistency, the slow growth. The properties are assessed here every 4 years. That taxed amount does not change during that period. So we know when we purchase a property, we have so many years of runoff before we see the next assessment. So it gives us chances to prepare what's coming next. We're not getting hit every single year. For example, the one I'm about to show you, we're 2 years into the cycle. And we have 2 more years knowing that it's going to be at that amount. and it will not change at the time of the property is sold. So if it's being assessed for, 5 million and now we buy it for 10 million, that's not going to change the assessment until we go to the next round. And then we'll have our supporting documents to challenge those assessments. So here's an overview of Knoxville from Google Maps. You see up here this yellow circle at the top. That is the area where the subject property is. It's between two major interstates, and it's right along this green ridge right there. So that is one of the things we deal with in construction in this area is topography. So there is a lot of topography that's unbuildable. It keeps people nicely condensed into certain areas. And it's been a really beautiful thing to look at as the seasons change here. But that yellow circle to downtown Knoxville is 5 miles. I live probably 15 miles from downtown Knoxville. It takes me 20 minutes to get there. So this is a very close-in opportunity for our tenants to attend University of Tennessee, get to Tennessee Medical Center, enjoy the things of downtown. Zooming in on the property, you can see it from above. There's 5 buildings that were built in 2005. They're 3 stories and they appear wonderfully built. I will hope to see more of those when we do some inside tours. But you can see this property behind it is the ridge I was talking about, where it's just great, beautiful landscaping and just a great mountainside to be able to be right up abutted to that. Also from above, you can see that we've got a clubhouse right here that's separate from our units. It's a great, in-house management spot with a maintenance shed. We have a lovely swimming pool and some dog park area. Here's a picture of the property itself. So this is why we like the deal. This is kind of the nutshell of it and the last slide. So we'll be able to open up for some more questions. This is a value add deal. The reason why it's value add is because it is a rent restricted community. This community was built in 2005, is placed into service in 2005 in this rent restricted community. After 19 years, you can go through the process of getting it out of that rent restriction. So our rents are currently around $950 per unit. The maximum allowable still within that program is $1,200. So we have room to grow from day one. Once we get through this process, we see that the market rents in that area are well above $1,550 per unit. So when you're talking about a value add, this is an amazing opportunity right here to be able to increase those rents without a whole lot of capital X improvements going in year one. They are 2 and 3 bedroom units, very large, all have washer and dryer connections, which our tenants will love. And there's no need for communal space for washers and dryers and so forth. That said, at the end of the day, we're looking at a 20% annualized average return on it. And I will let Darwin take it from here.
Yeah, let me throw some more color on this. We're not putting the name of the property out, anything like that. We just got our LOI in on that today and presented. And like I said, it was an off-market deal. There was only one other person looking at it. So I think that our offer is strong enough to go ahead and get this deal. And just like you said, this is a LIHTC, so it's rent restricted. And as he said, current rents are about $950, but we can raise those to $1,200 now. But market on a market deal, it's $1,550. Now that's $1,550. Got to remember that well, he didn't point this out. They're all 2 and 3 bedroom units. There's no 1 bedroom units. These are all larger units, 2 and 3 bedrooms. And so we can have a lot of push on that. There's some maneuvering around that we have to do. We've got 1 year. When we're under due diligence, we've got to go ahead and firm some of this stuff up. But there's a restriction. It's currently in the LIHTC program. We can get it out of the LIHTC program, but it's going to take 1 year where there's pretty much a lockout where we apply, and then 3 years that we have to allow the current residents to renew at whatever the appropriate or allowable rent restricted numbers are. Where right now it's $950, it'll go up to $1,200 right now if we wanted to raise those. A common question is, why doesn't the current seller do that? Current seller owns 15,000 LIHTC units. This is what they do on a day-to-day basis. And to get the funding and the tax credits and everything that they're doing under LIHTC, they are judged because it goes into, for lack of a better phrase, it's kind of they have to be selected to go ahead and get it. So when they put in an application for those LIHTC funds, they are judged, and one of those things they're judged on is whether or not they get points taken away if they were to take this out of a LIHTC program. So they don't want to do that because it will hinder them getting more deals in the future. So there's a value add component on this, and we're talking about a 2006 build, and we're looking at a purchase price of $115 a door.
Correct.
Correct. $115,000. Yeah, I'm just going off of memory here. $115,000 a unit. You saw the property, 2006 build for $115 a door. Yes, it is cheaper there, but the cost of construction is not that much cheaper. Land would be cheaper, but building is difficult. There's not a lot of developers out there pushing that, even though there's rent growth, even though there's population growth. Even the brokers there come out of Nashville or Atlanta. So it's really hard to go ahead and do those. And so it seems like a great deal. Like I said, it's about 4 years to get all of them out of there. Let me go back to that. We have to allow them to renew their leases, people that are currently there. But as soon as they're out of that lease, then we can go back up to market or release that. That 1,200 goes up every year. The market rent goes up every year. When I did my original projections, which is actually well over a 20% per year average annual return, when I did those projections, I didn't count any of that extra income that we can get over time. I just left it at the low income numbers. Let's see here. Let's ask Jeff a few questions. Is it a lower income? What's the neighborhood like? Crime, etc.?
So this is actually a very isolated location, as you may have seen from the aerial photographs. It's got parks all around it. It's a very, it's not gated, but it is definitely in an area where it is isolated from anything else that would be in that area that would be crime-wise. Obviously, having on-site management, having a good relationship with tenants, having security is number one in our mind as we're screening and we're bringing in people and watching over our project. That's very important. But no, it's a wonderful location. I don't think that there's anything detrimental to the asset in that area. Having those two interstates running right by it means it's going to be easier flow for those people trying to commute to work, whether they're north, south, east, or west, in town, out of town. It's a great central location for those folks.
As far as management on that next question, thanks, Kim.
So on the management side, I've talked with a local company that's actually been through this process of bringing a rent restricted community into the full market term. They've been through the entire process. They are actually partnered with some other companies that do strictly the rent restricted community, so they can help shuffle tenants around and help them find suitable housing as they exit. But we would use a local third party from the get-go. I think that's where we'll get the best bang for our buck, is to have the local expertise and working with these people and knowing what their needs are as we transition to bringing in the higher rents. I think Steve had also asked, how soon would you be able to charge market rents to the new tenants? Well, as Darwin said, the market rent would be further down the road, but we do have room under the restrictions to even move from the 950 to the 1,200. Even that, we can start immediately. So there's no restrictions on beginning this growth. That growth may push some of those folks out anyway. If they do, then we can bring in the next person at market rent. So it is kind of a stage process, and that's why having a local person that has expertise with it is going to be very helpful on our management side. How do the comps look in the same in terms of rents and recent sales? That's exactly what we're alluding to with the market rate rents on these places at $1,550 for a very comparable location. You can imagine the sell value on those properties is significantly higher than $115 a door. We did analyze, me, Julian, and Darwin analyzed one called the Adelaide that was a few months ago. That one recently sold for $160,000 a door. Those were 1, 2s, and a few 3-bedrooms that were at market rate, and they were like 1960s products. So it was a very, very different asset with, I mean, this, what it is the rent restriction is the chokehold on this one, and that's why we're getting this amazing price. Let's see. What's the investment amount and time period? Well, as Darwin alluded to, we have the LOI submitted. I have been working with this broker. He's one of the only local brokers in the area, and they are amazing. They've sourced some great deals. They've taken me on some wonderful tours. They have the knowledge here locally. I've spoken to some people out of Nashville that were with bigger names that you guys would all know. Unfortunately, they just didn't really know the background or have relationships with the people in this area. The company that we're buying it from that has 15,000 units is on a texting basis with both myself and with John, who's the broker. So there's I see it as a very seamless transition. They don't want to go through the process because it will dock them points on their application for new development, and that's where we can come in and step into this role. And if it works well for us, we have a pipeline for future deals very similar to this. What's the current occupancy? Darwin, do you know what the occupancy was whenever you were doing the first analysis?
Like 94%.
Okay. So very in line with what we saw in the graph earlier, where we're not seeing jumps up and down. It's not overfilled and it's not underfilled. It's right where you want it, to where as you have people exiting, you can bring in the next person at the higher amount. Medium income for the Knoxville in that submarket. Looking at the CoStar reports, looking at the full demographics for like the 1 mile area, it looked like it was around 55 to 60 average median income, which is not bad for Knoxville. You go beyond that, it gets a little higher. You start encompassing some of downtown, and it gets significantly higher. So again, we're 5 miles away from downtown. This is, we're really looking for, the working class person that's going to be commuting in and serving those areas. So it's a great area to start with. Why is the seller selling? What's the seller's story? Well, the seller has some debt on it, just like any good real estate asset's going to have some debt on it. They are in a position where they would need to refinance, or they can kind of recapture this capital and put it towards their next LIHTC development. So those tax credits that they receive from the state are at a premium. If they can get those, that's great for them as developers, and that's not where we want to go, but we're able to help them get that off their books, and we kind of, it works to our advantage to do that. Darwin,
hold on a second. Here's another reason why they're selling it now is you can't get it out of the LIHTC program until after you've been in it for 19 years. And they just hit that 19-year period. So now they want to sell it, and they are getting a premium for it based on, because if you look at the income and expense right now, it's not worth the price that we are paying. It's worth a little bit less than that, but they're trying to capitalize and make some money on the fact that it is going to go to a market rate deal. So they're getting a little bit of a premium on it, whether if they were to sell it as a LIHTC program right now, they wouldn't get the amount of money that we are paying. So we are overpaying for that reason. So they get a little bit higher premium, knowing that there's a whole lot of meat on the bone. They just want to participate in a piece of it.
Looks like there's a question for you, Darwin. Is there a way to connect with you with the progress after the LOI? Obviously, go ahead, Darwin.
Well, no, one of the reasons why we're presenting this now, because we're not ready to present the whole thing, is I wanted to get a feel for what people thought. We can't share too much information because, like I said, it is under LOI. We don't have a private placement memorandum ready, etc. But we'll do this under a 506B, so it'll only be marketed to our current partners, our partners. And we wanted to see what kind of demand we have, because this is going to be, it's in Tennessee. Jeff is boots on the ground. He'll be there. So it's a little bit different program. But if I were to go back to, 2014 and say, we're buying a 15-year-old property at $115,000 a unit, but we can raise the rents by $700 per unit, that's a value add we would be jumping all over. And so the value add opportunity is here. It's a little bit different. Like I said, at least we have boots on the ground there with Jeff as one of the asset managers along with us. We'll still be in control of everything. But we want to see who's interested. So if you're interested, send an email or text over to Jeff or invest@Darwin German. We just want to get a feel for it, and we'll put together a list and keep everybody up to date on that. When we get to the point of doing a private placement memorandum, and if that is the case, that would be probably doing a presentation next month for everybody to actually invest in. Then we'll keep you abreast of that. But right now, we want to see what kind of interest we have. And we would hire a third-party management company that knows Tennessee. So that knows Tennessee, that knows this product type. It's too few units too far away for us to be able to effectively manage it cost effectively. And so we'd really prefer having an experienced party there to protect our investors' capital. Jeff can do it. Okay, what other questions or comments would we have on that? Like I said, it's a beautiful.
Yeah, feel free to unmute if you want to just jump in and ask verbally, just hit unmute and you're welcome to talk, ask a question right out as well.
Nobody has any questions.
Sorry, I was just throwing you under the bus there a little bit, Jeff.
No worries, John.
And any comments there, John? Does anybody know Knoxville at all?
I'm from Tennessee, but I don't think that counts.
Well, Tennessee is a great place to invest. I wish we would have done it a lot earlier. But now, like I said, $115,000 a door, 2006 build, value add, and still cost of construction over there is still just as high. Their land is cheaper, but sales comps, as Jeff put it in there, a very much lower quality property that was about $160,000 a unit right now is a market deal. The only other thing that I'm going to throw out here that I did not include is when they do move out of the LIHTC, out of the low income portion, and we're raising those rents, we will want to do interior CapEx program to try and maximize those rents. So we are not raising them. We won't, if we go ahead and everything goes as planned, we won't raise that money up front. That'll be something that we'll have to bring in on the backside as people are moving out. And again, that I'm not anticipating that for another 2 years or so. So we'll add that in, but just huge upside on this. We also have another off-market deal, a similar size project that we are looking at making an offer on as well. So
quick question.
Yeah.
What's the kind of like the break-even price on that project if, let's say, it takes longer than expected to get people up to the higher rents, or the tenants don't want to move in at $1,250, or they don't want to stay? I'm just playing devil's advocate. So even if we're paying a bit of a premium, like, is there a floor where, like, hey, well, it didn't work, but we're holding on to the asset, and we've got a plan B or something?
Oh yeah, even if we kept it under the LIHTC rents, it still makes sense. It's, of course, there's a whole lot more upside because there's $250 a unit right now in upside that we can raise right now without doing anything. But we do want a certain amount of turnover so that we can start raising the rents on everybody else. Just hitting these, what's the tenancy length of average current tenant? There have been people, I was looking at the rent roll, There have been people that have lived in there for years and years and years because it is a lower rent. When you're talking about competition on market rates being $1,500 plus, and you can live in there at $950, then a lot of people are not going to move. And so that was one of them. Any plans to increase Mercer Park and Mustang Ridge occupancy rate? Yes, there is. We'll talk about management here in a minute. Approximate first year cash flow and loan to cost, loan to value. That is a very good question, and that's where our biggest challenge is because we don't have the debt coverage ratios. So we would have to go with the bridge loan probably, but we are shopping all of that right now. So it all depends on how much we put down and what kind of debt we get. If what I looked at right now was still having cash flow in the couple of percent year one, but that was with a higher capital raise. And I'm not sure we could do a higher capital raise. That's why we wanted to put it out here and see who would have interest. Obviously, no commitments right now. We're not looking for anything solid. We just want to get a feel for whether or not you would want to be in Tennessee, and if you do want to deploy your capital for a value add deal in Tennessee. So we'll have a whole lot more information on cash flow. We have to narrow down the debt. We have to get everything narrowed down. Like I said, it's just a letter of intent right now. Yes, and it's just for sophisticated. It's for sophisticated as well. You don't have to be accredited for this deal.
Darwin,
Yes, ma'am.
Tracy, are there any tax consequences with Tennessee? I know they don't have state income tax, but after getting into Blue Tahoe, there were California taxes that my accountant had to deal with that was unusual. So I just want to clarify, are there extraneous tax consequences with Tennessee that you are aware of?
I am not aware of any, but you've got to also remember Blue Tahoe's in California, and they're just
right.
I
know that, but I just want to clarify that, and I want to make others aware of that too. That if that's there, it is a consequence. Like California was different.
You would have a Tennessee tax return, to the best of my knowledge. You would have a Tennessee tax return.
Okay.
And there's other questions on how do we come up with our. Let me pull that up.
I would be surprised if Tennessee charges you $800 a year to invest there, like California does. But I don't know.
No, how did we come up with the 20% ARR without the debt quote?
Well, I don't have a debt quote. I've got debt assumptions. And so I plugged in $9 million in debt. We're looking at a purchase price of $16 million, $115,000 a door. So I plugged in $9 million, and their preliminary estimate is 9 to 11 in our preliminary discussions. But that's an $8 million capital raise. And then, like I said, I can't share all these numbers yet because we don't have everything out there. That is showing a year one return of only about 1.5, 1.75%. Year two, about 2%, 2.3. But in year four, and again, that's with just the LIHTC rents, just with the rent controlled rents. And that doesn't include the people that would be renewing, that would be moving out, and we can go ahead and raise the rents on. But year four turns into an 8.5% return. And then we plugged in a sale, and in these assumptions, it's 23% average annual return right now. And again, these are assumptions that we build. And again, we go in there and we analyze the property. We look at the rent roll. We look at the financials. We analyze it, get all the information, and we plug it into our spreadsheet to see if it's going to make sense. And we get preliminary debt quotes or ideas of debt to see if it makes sense before we even put in an LOI. So we put that LOI out there and then get it under contract and do our due diligence to firm all of this up, including debt and everything else. And at that point, we have a whole lot better understanding of where our debt is going to be, how much we're going to get, what all the rents are, et cetera. And that's how we do it every time. We go in there knowing what we think. Let me say this. We go in there with assumptions on our debt, and that can change. That go up, down, interest rate go up, down, and depends on what kind of loan we get, the terms, everything else. There's so many variables that I have to plug in what I think is realistic, which $9 million is only a 52% loan to cost. So that's extremely low. And that's what's producing that 23+% average annual return. And again, these are preliminary numbers. There's no commitments. Not looking for any, not any hard commitments, anything like that. We just want to see where the wind blows to see if there is interest before we go out there and commit to buying a property and needing to raise $8 million.
Darwin, I would like to say this, that as you said, and Jeff as well, this is not a yield play. Okay, so if you're looking for cash flow, this is not it. If you're looking for upside, big payday on the back end, this is your deal.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions before we move on to the final part? Anything, Bueller? No more questions? Okay, again, shoot an email over to Jeff or invest at Darwin German. Just an idea. If you're interested, we just need to get an idea of whether or not there's going to be enough demand for a good value add deal. Now, I do think we're at the bottom of the market. The election might swing one way or the other and cause some changes. But in any case, market sentiment is that we're at the bottom of the market right now, and there's a whole lot of money chasing deals. Any of you that listen to the old Capital podcast, listen to this most recent one, which is, are we at the bottom of the market? And Michael Becker goes through and they put a property on the market and they had 70 tours and 50 offers on a recent deal. And so those are very encouraging numbers, showing that people are ready to get back in the market. And like I said, I've said it every time, if you can go back and invest, when would you go back and invest? It wouldn't be 2022. You would go back to 2014, 2013, 2012, even 2016. And so that's where I think we are right now, which is why investing, I think, is a good opportunity. So shoot something over on that. And now I want to kick over and bring on Jenny. So Jenny, unmute yourself and show your face here. There you are. And here is Jenny. And Jenny is Director of Operations. She runs the management company, and she can go ahead and give us a quick update on what's going on the properties and, occupancy, collections, what she's seeing and everything going on. So Jenny, I turn it over to you.
Good evening. Good evening. So as you guys are aware, we're still experiencing some occupancy challenges in the DFW. I know that you've got your big Arcadia and Cushman and all those things that roll out these reports and these numbers, but digging into some of that, the rent growth is still down across the board. So what we've been doing to overcome that challenge on the rent growth is we've been working on just income all around, the other income, ancillary income. So if you look at the same parameters on the assets that Darcourt manages right now, and if you look at last year where we were on the total income and this year where we're at on the total income for our running 12, we're actually 40% higher. I know that sounds crazy, but that's where the numbers are. As long as we continue on that track, then that's at least we're able to grab the extra income, we've been reevaluating on recoup. So we've been maximizing the recoups on majority of our assets and making sure that we're getting back all those expenses, with the items that we're offering the residents right now, and the tech packages and those kinds of things. So we're just maximizing all of that, but we've had a good turn in our income. We've been able to bring it up about 8 million from where it was last year, and just 12 years of where we were on the same assets that we're measuring. So that's one challenge that we're seeing is the rental revenue, the income, not quite growing where we want it to grow. Now we are expected to see by the end of 2024 at least a 1% rent growth, with a 3% following on 2025. So we do feel like that we're on the upswing of that. We can just hold on a little bit longer, and maybe in Q3 we can start to feel that. We did calendar in rent growth opportunities actually on some of our assets now, which we were surprised that we were able to hit, but we have actually been able to increase the rental growth on 3 assets in the last 60 days. And we have 2 more that we're pushing through, that we really feel like that there's some growth opportunity there. But some assets that we can't quite push hard, we're just making sure that all of the other income is still being collected. Speaking of collections, we had almost half of the portfolio collect at 100% of billed revenues last month. And that was not the first month, that was month 3. So we're collecting, we're definitely collecting what we're billing. So it's, we've got a couple of hiccups on the eviction process. You guys are kind of aware of, especially Dallas County, it's a little tougher. One of our assets that was a question was about, Mercer Park, we're aware of that, which, half your delinquency is tied up in evictions. So we have been able to navigate that. But until that CARES Act, if that ever goes away, we're still kind of tied up for 45 days on some of those rents. So what we've been able to do in navigating that is we've definitely been targeting different demographics, and we have changed our marketing tactics so that we can target a little bit more of the long-termers. And, we've tightened down how our screening process works on those kinds of things too, so we can limit and reduce the amount of evictions and the rental income that's being lost on those situations. So we're working on that. Occupancy overall in DFW was averaging around low 80s for most of 23. So in 24, we were looking at it hitting mid 80s. They're expecting it to be in the lower 90s average in DFW by the end of the year. But right now, our average rents are sitting about $1,500 a door, $1,513 to be exact, is where we're sitting on average rents. It's down 1.2% year over year. So if we can just make up that 1%, which they're projecting, then we'll at least be on top on those kinds of issues there. But with Darcorp, we've been able to continue the income growth. We've been able to increase our collections. We've probably thrown out more challenges to the teams, and they've grabbed those and ran with it. So we're continuing to push the teams. We've enhanced our training opportunities here within Darcorp as well, to learn how to navigate some of those challenges that the industry is presenting us, that it's taking a little bit longer to get through, but I feel like that we're getting there. I feel like that we've got a little bit more growth, for 24. If we can just hold on a little bit longer, I think the market's going to allow us a little bit more growth for the second half of this year, to be able to put us in a good spot for 25 to grab that percentage that we're hoping that we can get, that the market is stating is out there. So that's what we're looking forward to right now.
Good.
But let's see. Do you have any questions specifically on, I know that we were talking about some occupancy on Mercer and Mustang. I know that Mustang is actually, the leasing trend is in the 90s. And so we've been pretty proud about that. And each month it's looking better and better. So yes, I know. That's been very exciting. It's been a great opportunity and a good challenge for us with the area, and with the way the rents have played out over the last 6 months. That alone, everybody, was having to drop their rents lower than what anticipated. Some of the, biggest challenges were a lot of the big team players having to lose a lot. just because of the amount of, concessions that were being given out. We're seeing those dwindle down. We're seeing those they still exist, but we are seeing that they're not as bad because we're starting to get in those 90 percentages in our leasing. So that's a good thing and a good sign. So
Well,
so far.
On that note, what we're seeing really is the problem is all the new construction and Class A that has come online are drastically reducing their rents. So the nicer properties are the ones that are having more competition and lower rents and big concessions. There are some, for example, out at Mustang, there's one property that's giving away 2 months free rent. There's another one that's new that not only does it have a Pilates yoga studio in it, it also has a brewery in it, and you pass that property going out to Mustang. And especially in out there in Weatherford, there are people that leave to go rent houses because of the difference between the cost of the apartment and a house. They can go get a house, and a lot of these build to rent communities, it's only a few $100s higher to go have a townhouse with a garage than an apartment. So we're seeing on some of these properties, mainly Mustang, we've had to cut back on the rents some to get it leased up. And because we've struggled on the occupancy at Mustang and the traffic, the back door, all of those things we've had to really, really, really drill down on and really have a lot of focus and a lot of attention on getting those leased up. And now we're trending in the 90s on that property. And of course we're going into leasing season, so that'll help. So really the nicer properties are having more problems than the Class B and C's, just because of the competition with the new lease ups.
Hey, Ken, I saw your question. You were asking what's going on with Frankfurt. So Frankfurt, their neighboring community just had, that phase that's going up, and they're pre-leasing that phase. So we wanted to kind of get ahead of that curveball because they start throwing out rent for that new phase going up. We're still turning in the low 90s right now on this asset. We really wanted to focus on trying to get, gain some of those move-ins that are coming into the neighbors' new phase going up. We've gotten a couple of those, but we've also, unfortunately, tried to save a couple that's going over there. But we've been able to at least collect, last month was one of those that they collected 100% of everything that's being billed out. So we're trying to at least control the controllables, right? Making sure that everything we're billing out that we are collecting, and everything, every phone call that's coming in and every person that's walking in, that we turn that lead into a lease and that conversion rate. So we're really focused on that a whole lot. I know that, they're at least trending another 1.5% higher than what they are currently occupied at for next month. So I feel like we're going in the right direction there. And so I expect us to be able to, hopefully in the next 4 months, be able to have a slight bump on a couple of floor plans over there that's been able to maintain some good rents. So we should have a little bit of growth before the end of the year on Frankfurt with the way it's trending. Let's see. There was a question from Jeremy. Anything going on with the remaining property in Blue Tahoe?
Well, I'll hit that. Blue Tahoe. Yes, we are marketing that, and it's not getting too much attention up there, which I really don't know why, but that's not getting a lot of attention. We do have an offer that we received on one of the properties in Hawaii that we're entertaining that. Not sure if that's going to go or not, but we are entertaining that. There was also a question on Vitae, which I wanted Garrett to chime in on, but his phone just died. And because he's up there, like I told you, Garrett is working part-time up there and part-time as investor relations, because I want him to get his feet wet, really understand everything that's going on a property. And so he's getting a good education on how that's going. But our income is already higher than our projections. So income's doing great. They really are pushing to have this. Our goal is to have this refinanced in about 14 months after purchase, and get it refinanced, get a cash out, and put in permanent debt, because the property is going great. Like I said, they're already ahead on their income, and there's still a lot more to do. Please rate renewal rate increase or decrease. Or says, okay, Jenny.
Yeah.
Rate increases for renewals. What are you seeing across the board?
So renewal, you're not getting much rent growth. Actually, it's down DFW Q4, or 2024 Q1. We're actually down 1.3%. That's across the board. The rent growth has kind of subsided, and you've got some of the big team players that have had to back up on a lot of their renewals because they've had to drop their rates, and from what they were able to get. And so you've got, renewals, at higher rates. And so a lot of that has had to back up. So there's not a lot of growth right now. But yeah, Q1, just a couple months ago, we were down, DFW 1.35%. So we're hoping to gain that percentage back in the next 6 months. They're expecting that to be able to gain that percentage back. Now we've been able to, again, within Dark Corp, we've been able to not feel that on all of our assets. We still have some rent growth going on, but DFW as a whole, Q1 was down 1.35%.
Okay, Jenny, let me ask this, because I got a little confused. The 1.35 down is market as a total in DFW. What about in our portfolio, and even as a total, or on individual assets? Because I know some are up, some are flat, and only a couple we've had to adjust downward. But what are we seeing in our portfolio?
We're still getting between 3 and 5% rent growth. So we've got some assets that, outside of a couple that we've stood still on, and one that we, had to adjust down just a touch, we're still getting minimal 3% on our renewals right now. And any of these assets that we've been able to get some rent growth on in the last couple of months, and then a couple more, we're looking at in the next 60 days raising, we're in between actually 4 and 7 on some of those floor plans. So we haven't gained a lease on some of our assets right now that we wanted to make sure that we were able to get before we adjusted our markets. So our markets are fixing to adjust on those, and that's between a 4 and a 7, depending on the floor plan on some of these units, just because some of them they stay full constantly, and there's no sense of sitting on that and not seeing that growth. But on renewals, the minimum we're giving right now is 3%, and we're still getting that, with the exception of, we're not getting the 3% at Mustang right now. We're staying level on where we're at, but the rest of the assets are getting rent growth on the renewals right now. We haven't backed off any renewals outside of Mustang.
Okay, so Jenny, I want to say you gave a whole market thing as it being down 1.35. So you're not patting yourself on the back enough, or tooting your own horn, that as a market we're down 1.35. Right. But I know that we're getting between 4 and 7, as 4 and 7% on our renewals as far as rent increases. So we are doing way better than the market as a whole. And that's really what I put in there. I don't really care about the whole market. I want to know what we're doing. And that's everybody here, they don't care about what the market, they want to know what their investment's doing.
Right. And I get that. So for sure. So just like, if you look at the April total income, the total income for April of 2023, again, we're 40% higher than what we were, looking at April 2024. So you've got 40% of total income growth. That's a big change. That's a big increase. And it ended up being close to $8 million, across the assets. So that's pretty good, for the assets that we've got. So there's definitely growth, and there's definitely income. So we're beating what the market is doing. I just don't want to get ahead of ourselves and not keep the market in mind. So we're going to continue to challenge the teams and continue to go in the direction that we're going. But yeah, we're still getting growth within Dark Corp. We're kind of not matching what DFW is doing. So the teams are really pushing it, and they're doing really, really good. I've gotten one right here I'm looking at, and the new leases over at this asset is a 6.72% increase from prior rents.
You can
You know,
show
and that's over, that's, you know, over at Saginaw. So it's like it's happening. You know, Oakview, you have 5.22% rent increase on the new rents versus old rents on those move-ins just for the past 14 days. So it's like the numbers are there and we're seeing those for sure.
Right. Well, and on that, we've got about half of our properties are still paying distributions, the other half are not. And we're seeing that rent growth on collections, but on some of those occupancies down a little bit, but expenses are up. We're starting to see some of our taxes and insurance being a little bit lower in some areas or projected. But
Yes.
all those are still up. So we want to make sure we're in good position on everything before we start reinstituting and start doing more distributions on the properties, because that's what everybody really wants is, hey, where's the cash flow? But our number one goal is through a down market to protect the asset above everything.
Yeah, we want to protect that and make sure the stability is there. So especially on this downturn, and that's, you know, like I mentioned, I want to keep in mind that the market, you know, what the DFW market did was down, you know, 1.35. We want to make sure that we're very cognizant of that and very strategic, so that we don't, you know, put the asset in a situation, you know, or, you know, we don't want to jump the gun and get too excited. But I feel like there's some good moves, you know, for Q4 for sure. Hopefully we can grab a little bit in Q3, but I'm expected on that. Let's see, is Valley View seeing any growth in occupancy and the plans or ability to start distributions? Oh, you just mentioned the distributions there. I think they were talking
Jenny,
about
let me jump in here, Jenny.
Okay.
Questions are coming fast and furious, and guys, we appreciate and not lost on us that there are lots of questions. Unfortunately, time is not in our favor. I did want to update everyone on this, that monthly packages, monthly updates, there was not a narrative, and I want everybody to know we have not abandoned narratives. Narratives are not going away. Unfortunately, we've had a couple of issues that delayed our narratives. They will start again in our April packages, which are going to be coming at the end of this month or very early into June. But what I'm going to do is issue a separate narrative aside from the financial packages and bring everyone up to speed on individual properties. So if we were to go through each property tonight, we would be here until 10 o'clock. And I know you guys would love to have answers to your questions, and I would love to be able to give them to you, but you would probably not want to stay on for another 2 hours. So suffice it to say that for the sake of time, we will not take any more questions on properties, but what we will do is issue a narrative answering the basic questions that you want to know is, what is the occupancy? What's the delinquency? What are our rent growth? I mean, just pretty much an update on each property. So that is coming.
And on those narratives, we're also adding a whole lot more information into those. A lot of the static information, purchase information, debt information, loans coming due, interest rates, and then also month over month, real quick summary on income, expense, NOI, so that you have more of a cheat sheet.
And kind of like a T12.
Kind of like a summary T12, so that you can see what's going on at a glance, and then have all the other information at your fingertips. When we bought it, how much we paid, how much your investment, how much the overall investment was, how it's performing. So our narratives, that's why we're taking a little bit of time, is getting all those set up and getting all the information in there. So we're excited about getting those out. Sorry, it's taking a little bit longer than anticipated.
Yep. Well, with that, folks, I want to thank everyone for joining us. I apologize for the late hour, but I thought we had some really good questions and some really good answers. Also, with the EQRP program that we saw at the beginning of this session, I sincerely hope that you find value in that, because truly there is something to be said about having full control over your assets and your investment dollars. On VTE, when we were closing out the fundraising on VTE, I had one individual who came in later in the process. He was using a self-directed IRA. I will not mention who the custodian was, but they could not get it done in time, even though he had subscribed. They could not vet the deal, approve the deal, and fund his investments in time for us to have his funds in prior to closing. So he lost out on a very good opportunity. So therefore, I would highly recommend investigate a little further into it. Reach out to Jeff or myself, and we can point you in the right direction. So avail yourself of that program if you are in the position to deploy some or not necessarily self-directed. You could roll over some regular IRA funds. And if you, as Darwin had asked, if you set up a business and need some write-off, you can put in up to $74,000 in year one. So that's fabulous there. And as far as if you're concerned about the price, I mean, $3,900 is a drop in the bucket compared to the benefit that you'll get. Trust me, it cost me thousands of dollars to set one up over 10 years ago. So, I mean, when I say thousands, I mean upwards of, I think it was close to $12,000 to get it done back then. So a drop in the bucket, what it is now, and compared to what the benefit you'll get, just immeasurable. So again, thanks for joining us, everybody. Please feel free to reach back out via email or text, and we'll be happy to answer some of those questions and look for those property narratives to come prior to the end of the month. So with that, good night, everybody. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next month.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you, everybody.
guys.